As IMANI Ghana celebrates its 10 years of accomplishment this month as the most influential think tank in Ghana and one of the top 5 in Africa, it is the hope of many Ghanaians that IMANI continue to demonstrate unswerving commitment to excellence in public policy analysis. It's common knowledge that among a large number of the Ghanaians, many still do not understand the role or importance of think tanks in national development and why international organizations such as the IMF, the World Bank, International Development Agency, etc. heavily rely on think tanks for local solutions. It is because homegrown solutions can only be produced from knowledge and policies that are locally generated and context-specific. In an increasingly interconnected world, think tanks are joining forces in partnerships and networks to generate and use knowledge more systematically to address national, regional, and global challenges. Franklin Cudjoe is founding president and CEO of IMANI Center for Policy and Education, which sets out to achieve its mission by subjecting any government policy that is likely to have systematic implications for development to basic value for money, due diligence and rational choice, public choice and vested interest analysis, and then actively engage in policy advocacy to publicize the result with a view to promoting peace and prosperity through human flourishing.
IMANI has always endeavored to improve social values of Ghanaians, especially those of our leaders, so that a lot of attention will be given to the well-being of the people of Ghana. We are well organized. We engage people who know what they are doing. They show passion for their work, and they achieve results.
IMANI is now actually a sought after partner in political discourse, or let me not say political discourse, on public discourse, on serious radio platforms. And I emphasize serious radio platforms. We are not just classroom academics, we are not political academics, but very sharp-minded, witty young guys with hardcore research that are able also to unpack and demystify most of these things that were left in academia, serious topics that we thought that we the little minds was over our heads. But now we match up to them, and I mean, when our partners are talking on radio or on public stage, I mean, academia sits up and listens.
Franklin is an Earhart Doctoral Fellow at Beckenham University in the UK, an alumnus of Harvard Kennedy School Executive Education, the Atlas Economic Research Foundation's think tank MBA program, and the Montreal Economic Institute's think tank training program. He has a Bachelor of Science in Land Economy from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
There have been tremendous global presence for IMANI from 2005. Not many people in Ghana actually know that IMANI had a thorough global presence even before Ghana got to know IMANI proper. By 2005, there's virtually no media house in this world that had not interviewed myself and to some extent my colleague Bright. We were all over the place in the Wall Street Journal, all the 3 versions, and these were top-level publications, the Daily Telegraph of London, with references all over CNN, BBC, what have you. Some of the things we wrote at the time featured in the British House of Commons debate. If I recall, that debate was interesting because the discussion at the time was the extent of poverty on the continent, Africa. But the British government was just taking a decision to give aid to Ethiopia that had maimed about 500 of its own because of election fraud. And there's a Labour MP who asked a question Do we know the extent of corruption on the continent? To which the Conservative Member of Parliament, David Chope, he's called, replied and said, how can we not know the extent of corruption, I'm paraphrasing, when the Ghanaian director of IMANI has asserted that corruption cost the continent, well, $4,700 is stolen every second on the continent. Now, if we calculated that, that comes to $149 billion a year of grand corruption. That's 25% of Africa's GDP. Where it mattered most, it was mentioned, the British House of Commons. It was interesting. The South African High Court judge, in his ruling on intellectual rights patents, also cited some work I did for the WHO. I mean, I recall published these articles about the WHO, about patents and all of that, and cited that, which was interesting. Having this debate with a sitting Tanzanian president, Benjamin Mkapa, which was viewed by over 1 million people in the United States, was also very encouraging. Indeed, to have had the presence and the audience of Bill Gates Sr. to have a discussion about global health care as it mattered to his foundation, and to know that 2 weeks after my meeting, the things I suggested about indoor residual spraying, he voted $283 million for malaria in Africa, and for the first time included indoor residual spraying. Those things make you feel that there's been some impact, really. And there are other loads of them. John Templeton Foundation Award, or the Anthony and Dorian Fisher Award, the only think tank in Africa beating 180 think tanks to rate, to have won that, and then winning 2 John Templeton Foundation Awards were quite interesting. Finally, the World Bank would give you a letter and say that they think that within the short space of time you have impacted so well that the task they gave you, you did them so excellently. And I think that this is to the merit and the glorification of everybody at IMANI who has made this happen.
In 2010, Franklin Kujo led the World Bank Ghana Africa Regions Task to help shape the World Bank strategy for Africa for 2010 to 2013.
We have known IMANI since its inception, about 10 years ago, and we had been working with various civil society organizations, but when they came on board, we realized that they were different. They were very active, they were very research-oriented, but they were very proactive also, which is what was interesting about them. They did their work with passion, did all the background research, and they were bold and very quick to put stuff out, to put information out, to be very provocative a lot of the times. And so it was interesting and refreshing to have a civil society organization like IMANI on the scene.
Democracy thrives where you have an informed public. And in fact, you would say that despite people's seeming desire to be democratic, leaders are apt to take the population for granted if they think they are very ignorant. And so you need institutions such as IMANI to actually boldly confront issues of public interest and confront them dispassionately. Confront them and begin a discourse that will enable our leaders to respect the people that they are leading because they are not ignorant. I find that extremely important. It is dangerous in our kind of situation because there's a lot of misunderstanding. You know, when a government is in power and IMANI is doing its work, they always feel that they are under attack. But when they are in opposition, they love IMANI because they think IMANI is raising issues that they are also interested in. But I think we ought to get to the stage where we'll see IMANI as the best think tank for our nation.
We set out to influence policy. And we set out to influence leadership. We set out to influence the direction of our country. And we knew that operating as a think tank means you don't have the power to make decisions. So knowing our space, which is to put up information for the general public and also for the information of politicians, our impact has to be measured in terms of whether we've been able to put up relevant information regarding policy alternatives and the things that politicians and leaders have done in this country. And also to measure whether those things have been credible enough, to warrant either comment or to even change something. And I can confidently say that IMANI over the past 10 years has picked on very relevant issues. We have done very serious research. We have put up very serious opinions. We've written them. We've debated them in the media, on radio, TV. We've written in the international press. We've given interviews. And even though some of the things we've said have tended to be critical of certain governments, and therefore they've been resisted, time has proven that most of the viewpoints of IMANI, I dare say maybe all, have been proven to be the better options, opinions, ideas over time.
In 2010, Franklin Cudjoe was consulted by the UK's Prime Minister's office on how to make effective use of British aid in Africa. He was named a Young Global Leader by the World Economic Forum in 2010.
Much more dealings with international media, which we already do, by the way, much more in dealing with international business, understanding we being the definitive go-to think tank when it comes to Kenyan political economic risk analysis. I mean, we should be the thing because we understand the mores of this country probably much more better than most of our compatriots.
The position of IMANI has become quite interesting going forward, especially on the African continent. But locally in Ghana, politically, IMANI has become an item to be listened to as and when statements are made. His pick, Franklin Cudjoe's pick and IMANI's pick on the specific things that actually affect the body politic of this country and the people at large has become very, very critical and very visible. In the media, his dominance in the media space, especially with policy matters that are of immense impact, has become an issue to be looked forward to every month and every week. We particularly have a relationship, a good relationship, myself and the people at IMANI, and Franklin Cudjoe's presence with me on the City FM's The Big Issue is one of those particular periods when we tend to influence across the whole range. Our challenge to academia has always been bring it down to earth, bring it to the position where we can actually articulate it, where we can understand it, where we can unravel it.
The quality of the work that they do, the depth of the research, the depth of the logic is amazing. And you just have to read on any issue that they've done to appreciate the level of professionalism. Sometimes it's difficult to believe that people with so little resources can actually turn out such a professional and in-depth work. If I were the government of the day, a think tank like IMANI would be very close to me, so they can offer me insights into a lot of the stuff that is going on. Anybody who looks at IMANI's work with impartial eyes would see that these are really major thinkers.
The reach of our work is very diverse. We have projects that we carry out for international partners. We have projects that we carry out for local partners. And so it's important that different perspectives come together to meet the demands of our clients and to meet the demands of the people that we serve. And so having these different groups of people definitely brings it all together. There's never a bad idea. There's never a wrong approach. It's always just bringing all the ideas together and always bringing out what's best for the particular task and executing it till it's done.
To be cited in the top 10 think tanks consistently for the past 5 years is some good thing for Africa. But to be cited in the top 100 most influential think tanks in the world outside of the US is equally great. It's even better if you are cited in the top 150 think tanks in the world, one of about 5 African think tanks, including all the think tanks in the United States. So for us, these are humble, and if you think that these rankings are coming and the impact is being felt across the globe, simply because you are running on a shoestring budget, we are the definitive intellectual entrepreneurs, because we can manage with less and can impact significantly beyond our borders. I would think for the private sector, they should start looking clearly at value for money analysis. It is important for the private sector to understand that not only would they be achieving a lot if they invested in a think tank like IMANI and not hope that the returns will be sooner, but they should also understand that, look, the battle for freedom, the battle for beautiful ideas is not a terrain for, the timid. It is something that ought to be looked at seriously, and we think that we occupy that position, that apart from doing industry-related research and analysis, which we are doing for some companies, I've done stuff for the American Chamber of Commerce, Ghanaian Chamber of Commerce as well. We've done stuff for MTN, Airtel, all the telcos. We're doing stuff for some of the oil companies, I think Cosmos. The World Bank especially, we've done all these analysis, and as you know, with my recognition and sitting on the board of the NIDA, it also tells you that, because again it's a private sector fund, and so it tells you that we've got the ability and the presence to be able to prosecute some of these agendas, if there is a word like that.
We at IMANI have carved for ourselves is to occupy the space where we get to demand accountability in terms of policy credibility from the quarters of government and how that impacts on private sector businesses, individuals, and the entire management of the economy. So we believe that we can occupy that space and partner private sector businesses, not only financial services. I mean, you're talking agriculture, for example, you're talking trade, incidence of taxation, for example. We can measure the incidence of that and determine the extent to which it either supports or constricts the businesses of private sector initiatives that work in this country. When it comes to issues of industry analysis, the measurement of performance of certain sectors, market-based research and all of that, I mean, it's important that they get to know that we are not only confined to policy criticism and policy analysis, but these kind of specific industry-related work that can add value to the business of the private sector. We equally occupy that space, and we think that should be made known.
IMANI has come on board as perhaps a beacon of hope for the youth to know that behind a computer, behind a book, behind your desk, you can make an impact in the world. You don't need a platform. Not everybody will get a platform like Azuma Nelson or Komla Dumo or which other Ghanaian has, or Kofi Annan. Not every Ghanaian will get that opportunity to be in the world affairs on that level. But through IMANI, we know that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what school you went to. It matters what you do with what you have. And for that, I think that IMANI deserves commendation.
I think that IMANI personnel have displayed high level of professionalism. If you look at some of the topics that we cover in terms of their depth, in terms of their breadth, in terms of their ability to even sometimes cause a little bit of controversy, it quite appears that we have conducted ourselves well in trying as much as possible not to be skewed towards any particular favored outcome, but looking at the best outcome or the most optimal outcome in terms of the circumstances surrounding whatever we study. And that I think is the hallmark of professionalism.
So yes, IMANI has been very, very important in terms of impacting the political class, particularly the members of parliament. Same with the media. Most of our media organizations are not seized with the people and the infrastructure to be able to pull off some of those major research work that IMANI has done. Remember IMANI's work on, for instance, the CBD loan and how their predictions came to pass. Remember IMANI's work in recent times, again, on the XTS saga. We remember IMANI's assessment of the campaign policy of free SHS. And all of these things have given the media something to talk about and have set the platform for major national discussion. So yes, to that extent, IMANI's work has been very useful, it's been timely, and it's particularly welcome in a society like Ghana.
Anytime IMANI has thrown out something for public consumption, it is not that someone has gone to sleep and dreamt of something and just put it out. You realize that the detail and the serendipity and every relevant factor that makes good research is present. And on any day, any occasion, I would recommend IMANI's research to any individual, whether Ghanaian or foreigner, who wants an authoritative imprint on any work that it is doing or researching into. I think that IMANI leads the way, and we cannot but commend the ladies and gentlemen behind IMANI.
Let's not forget that a lot of the foreign companies, they have people doing the lobbying for them. And in Ghana, we're kind of exposed, we're not protected. So we are kind of vulnerable in our own country, which is a sickening thought. And organizations like IMANI have helped to alleviate some of the possible persecution one might have faced. And we are very excited by the work they've done so far, and we hope they have a very bright future. And they need support from people like us, because they do help us.
IMANI is unashamedly a pro-private sector think tank. Okay, we believe in enterprise. We are libertarian inclined. We believe in freedom. And we believe that government is extremely important, but it must not do everything. And to that extent, we believe in small government and government limiting itself to the things that government must do. That also means we believe the private sector must necessarily be the sector that drives the economy. All right? And over our years, we have not at all wavered in that principle that we hold. And so we've sought to, if we will err on the side of the private sector. But in the course of what we've done, we have had many opportunities to criticize a lot of private sector initiatives, or so-called private sector initiatives, which really, are scams disguised, okay, as private sector or PPPs or whatever it is. To that extent, therefore, you can find that in certain places we have been critical of the private sector when it ends up indulging in crony capitalism and colluding with governments. And on another level, we've been very, very pushy in advocating that private sector, should take charge of things, and we've spoken at length about privatizing almost everything, and we truly do believe in it. So we seek very close collaboration with the private sector. But I have to make this point, and I have to make it clearly, that the private sector, especially in Africa, as we can see in Ghana, is not always what it is supposed to be. A huge chunk of what we call private sector constitute wings of government people, specifically set up to rip off the state. So they look like private sector entities, but what they've actually done is to become extensions of politicians, okay, designed to collude in chronic capitalistic maneuvers to rip off the state. To that extent, that is a pseudo-private sector, and we don't want to encourage that kind of thing. We believe in the proper private sector led by entrepreneurs looking out for opportunities and trying to take those opportunities for their benefit and to serve society, by which they will profit. All right? So don't get me wrong. We seek that collaboration, and we have a lot of good collaboration with the private sector. But I have to consistently make the point that not all the people we see or all the actors in the private sector that we have today are truly private sector people. Going forward, we think that, or we want IMANI to more or less be supported almost entirely by the private sector. Why? Why? Because, like I said, it is our job to hold governments accountable.
The fact of the matter is that in every civilized democracy, the politician does everything he does in order to survive the next election. If you're a civil society organization, if you're a think tank, I suspect people do not know really what civil society actors should be doing. If you are one of these, and yours is to be praising the government all the time, well, I've got news for you. The government employs door catchers, employs loads of people to sing its praise. My goal is not that of the opposition. The opposition will only be criticized when it gets to elections, when they bring their policies, like we did for the NPP when they brought their free SH policy, which we chopped into pieces. The whole thing about whether you lie here or here, I think it's a question about associations, really. If I find that a group of people are more accommodating, less insulting, and are happy and hungry for ideas, naturally, you'd have friends there. If that is what will give cause for worry by some of the people, I'll say, please welcome, I welcome you. In fact, I have many friends, some friends in the NDC, who really want to draw closer to us. And we want to welcome that. But this perception about being an MPP, let me just say one thing again. Any serious think tank leader who collects money from a politician is not serious, because the politician will come back and use that against him. You know, so it is utterly silly to hear and make people making, and I think there's a lot of ignorance issues, really, and I don't want to believe that serious people need to make these comments anyway.
We have to engage with the private sector and especially the small-scale entrepreneurs. We have to hold forums to organize educational activities. We also have to be in touch with the private sector to ensure that they really pay attention to the needs of the people, especially the poor. How do we assist the poor sections of the society to access a little capital?
As we speak now, as the NDC in power, we should already be sending signals that should anything change in 16, we will be on your back. Whoever is there, count IMANI to be watching. And again, I would also encourage the public to support us. Look, it all takes money. And IMANI, you'll be surprised, is not on these big statutory budgets where we can call on recognized institutions giving us budgetary allocations of $100,000, 500, and this, you know. IMANI is like people of like mind, absolutely committed, coming together and doing things on their own, pro bono. And a lot of the work is pro bono, but it can't survive that way. If we want to go the extra mile like I'm suggesting, we need to encourage the public to encourage us. We are inviting the public to encourage us, and encourage us financially, morally, logistically, anything that you could do to help enhance the work that IMANI is doing.
I think they've raised the issues. They have generated debate. They've generated controversy. They've generated excitement. They've enriched the public discourse. In the process, I'm sure because it's a human institution, they will not always get it right. But luckily, most of the time, or close to 100% of the time, IMANI has been right. And for me, IMANI should just continue doing what it does. And in the process, we'd all be the better for it. I wish IMANI well. I mean, 10 years of sustaining a business like this is not easy, especially with all the mud, the stones, and the sticks that will be thrown at you. I think you've done very well. And I can wish you many more years of successful, how should I call it, debate, successful stirring up of controversy, successful throwing the light on the dark spots in our society. So I wish you another 10 years, hoping that we'll all be alive and in good health, and will be contributing to the political discourse of this country. Let's see each other in 10 years, and then another 10 years, and another 10 years, until we all drop off dead one day. Good luck, IMANI, and I wish you well.
I want to wish IMANI well in their 10th anniversary celebration. The sky is the limit. There are bigger things, there are bigger fights to fight, and we look forward to working with them going forward.
And on this occasion of their 10th anniversary, I join many Ghanaians who wish them well, congratulate them, Mr. Kujo, Franklin Kujo, and his partner, Mr. Bento. We have to congratulate them on this anniversary and for the work that they've done. And the next 10 years should even be better. The work of think tanks like IMANI should be supported by all of us, especially those of us who have some funding. A lot of the funding that goes into some of these social issues, IMANI deserves a lot more. And I would like in the next 10 years to see IMANI attracting a lot of support from the local industry, from local business. It will be worth the while of all of us as individuals and as a nation. Congratulations once again, IMANI.
IMANI Ghana, I also know, is a purely individual corporate effort. And everything in these parts and virtually all over the world is run with money. If you want good quality research, good quality interventions in public discourse, as IMANI has been doing, you need funds. And I do not want IMANI, for instance, to come at any kind of governmental control. But I believe also that IMANI needs help, financial help, so to speak, from various players in the public sector. And I'm encouraging Ghanaians, with those might, the little that anyone can chip in to help IMANI deliver on its mandate will be welcome.
10 years of IMANI, where did the years go? Congratulations, you've done a great job, but I think the greater job is ahead. And I know that all of you are more than capable of giving the best and even outshining yourselves. That's what I'm looking for. Congratulations.
I believe that if we are able to pool our resources together as individuals, as institutions interested in deepening Ghana's democracy, we can go a long way in better resourcing IMANI to travel another 10 years so that our democracy can become a better platform for developing this country, so that our policies we pass through Parliament can become better laws to regulate, our lives and also how we develop as a people. IMANI has come to stay. I believe they have substantially contributed to making Ghana a better place for all of us. Let's continue to support them. Thank you very much, IMANI, for being 10 years old.
I would like to, on behalf of IMANI, the IMANI Group, Board of Directors, myself, wish IMANI many more years of activities in this country. We appreciate the role that IMANI has been playing over the years, and we pray that IMANI continues to enrich the social fiber, our social values, to continue to draw attention to the role of leadership, to continue to draw attention to the issues of morality, and provide the necessary leadership in the area of civil society.
I want to say congratulations and happy 10th anniversary to our friends at IMANI. I hope you appreciate how respected internationally this institution is, and I hope that you will continue to support its efforts so that Ghana has an independent voice that is active in promoting integrity in public office and the policies that really do lead to peace and prosperity. Congratulations, Franklin and IMANI.